Today's story. I wanted to look up. There's two sets of svarim, beautiful svarim. It's called Shulchan HaMelech, at the king's table, that records the conversations over the years till Tavshin Lamed. And the Rebbe stopped after the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe's wife. He stopped eating upstairs in the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment. As you know, all the sudas used to take place before Tavshin Yud, obviously, but after Tavshin Yud, for 20 years, till Asada B'Teves of Tavshin Lamed. All the meals were upstairs. The Frierdiker Rebbe's place remained as it was. The Rebbe had his left, the Rashak had his right, and there were guests there, specific guests that were invited, senior Chassidim, or senior Chassidim that had come from overseas. And all of the conversations are recorded in these two wonderful books. So the Bochrim used to get, the one that was really comfortable to speak, of course, was the Rashag, his brother-in-law. The others were really only spoken to. But he would ask the Rebbe questions. And so the Bochrim would set him up with questions to ask on the Fabrengen, or just some questions in Chassidus, or things that he came up with. And this is a whole beautiful, it's a 2-volume set of Shulchan HaMelech, of these conversations that took place, and some extraordinary things happened there. Here's one story. So he tells us like this, that the Fabrengen of Rosh Hashanah of 1966, Tavshin Chavav, by Minkowitz was there. So many others here in Montreal were there. So that Fabrengen, you can sit there, and the Rebbe mentioned Russian jury, and the Rebbe cried bitterly. And in the Maimer, the Maimer of Rosh Hashanah, Tavshin Chavav, 1966, when he mentioned the teaching of the Rabbi, so the Eibusha created the world in such a way that there has to be an Oni and Oshir, the poor and the wealthy, because the Eibusha wants the whole world is built on the system of Mashpia and Makabel. But the Oni, the poor person, Tainas, why was it decreed that he has to be the Oni on the receiving end? Taina, that was like arguing, defending the Taina of the protest, of the Oni, of the Makabel, and Golos. Why'd have to be the receiver and not be the one who's the Mashpia? Never cried bitterly when he said that. Of course, he's alluding to, it seems, even in Russia, that's the state of Aniyim. Here in America, wealth, material, spiritual. This is 1966. So he says like this, it seems that what caused this emotion at the Fabrengen was something which happened at the Suda of that meal. So this was the very beginning when Jews came out of Russia. Mendel came out around this time, a little bit later. Mendel Futterfass. So the Rebbe asked one of the guests to tell a story from there. So Rabbi Sesonkin, if anybody remembers him, Rabbi Batumer, came from Batum. He was, I can tell you, he was a chassid that when he came out of Russia, nothing changed for him as far as we could see. The Vata Tetzava with Rebbe, laments the fact that the Chassidim many had Mesiras Nefesh in Russia, but then coming to the free world, it receded. At Rabbi, nothing changed. Very colorful figure. His face speaks volumes. He has a son in Florida, my age. I think he only has one son. At any rate, so Rabbi, he was an Ish Poshet. He was a simple fella, simple in the most virtuous sense. Baal Mesiras Nefesh. So he said the following story. He related that in one of the towns in Russia there was a factory, and the one who ran it was Mendel Garelik. And because he was the foreman of the factory, so a lot of Anash were able to keep Shabbos. Because in Shabbos you had to show up for work. So they come to work, but because he was the foreman, instead of working, he said they had a full Chassidish day. 8 in the morning, they done Chassidus. They davened b'mesinas ba'avodah deliberately, slowly. Afterwards, there was a kiddush, and they verbring till mincha. So they were a whole day, and then they went home. Rabbi even said, Shabbos Mavorch had come earlier and say the whole thing. He showed up earlier than he had to show up. It had to be 8 o'clock. But they were good workers. Once a month, the devotion was they showed up even earlier. Now, of course, this was highly dangerous, and the entire time, one of the fellows was outside the room where they were gathered to see that there was no suspicious characters coming, and if yes, he would run in and tell them. So as one Shabbos, and one of the fellows appointed to be watchman runs in the panic, and there's a whole group, he says, of officers of whatever NKVD, KGB that are approaching. You see them coming. He said, Mendel turned white, and he said that someone has to go out and talk to them, and somehow, sweet talk this, distract them, bring mashke, money, something, bribe them, send them on their way somehow. So who was it? It was his son, Shalom Ber. Listen to this. As he's walking out, he says, please wait for me for Kriyas HaTorah. They hadn't davened yet. He's going. He wants to hear Kriya, so wait till I come back. And Baruch Hashem, I guess this was part of the incredible Hatzlacha, confidence in the Eibishter. This is my commentary here. Wait for Kriya. And he comes back, Chevre, they're gone. Mission successful, and the Shabbos continued. Now at that time, Rav Osher continues the story. He already had the coveted permit paper. And he was leaving Russia soon after this incident. And so after the story, the Baruch Hashem ended well, but the fact is everybody was very concerned that this can happen again, and it intensified their worries. So here's the end of the story. Mendel turned to Rabbi Osher, when he knew he was going out, and he said, tell the Rebbe, I'm the Ken Shenishmer. We can't bear anymore. So he told the story at the meal. That's the Rebbe started crying. He burst into tears at the meal. So it's possible, the author is saying that this was the Fabrengen, a day later or 2 days later, was behemshech to the story that had been told at the Rebbe's table that Rosh Hashanah. Puts in brackets in the end, by the way, he says when Rabbi Osher started to tell the story, the Rebbe said he stopped him from mentioning any names. They're all heroes. You could say the names, but the Rebbe didn't want the names to be mentioned. He says in his house upstairs, in the previous Rebbe's room, there were spies in 770. And one can never know who what. It's not, he was elaborating. It's not that it was a spy at the Rebbe's table. But afterwards, what happened upstairs, and they tell the story, and he'll mention what happened. So this Mendel got Elik, and the whole and his son Shalom Ber. So he told the story and no names. That's how real it still was in 1966. A wonderful day.